Hello, and welcome once again to Lehto's Law. I'm Steve Lehto, attorney at law in the state of Michigan, where I've been practicing law for 26 years in the fields of consumer protection and lemon law. I often write about this stuff for places like roadandtrack.com, and I've written a few books as well. Today we're going to talk about what to do if your car is repossessed. What to do if your car is repossessed. So previously I did a podcast on how don't do a voluntary repo, okay? So what to do if you are at your wit's end and you still have your car, what you might be able to do. But I've gotten the call, and I've heard this from people. They woke up one morning and their car was gone. They knew it wasn't stolen. It's been repossessed. So what we're talking about here is the moment in time where you look on the driveway and there's the empty spot out there. What do you do if your car has been repossessed? Not stolen, repossessed, okay? So in case you are curious how we analyze this process, we have to back up and just look at the basics. A repossession occurs when you have a loan on your car and you are in default on your loan. The lender can then retake the collateral to protect their interests in that loan. So this is all based on what's called a purchase money security interest. You don't need to know that, but you walk into a dealership to buy a car and you don't have the money to buy the car. You say, well, can I get a loan on this? And they say yes. And you put the car up as collateral against the loan. So when you are in default, that is the lender gets to take the collateral to try to mitigate their damages on the defaulted loan. So the first thing you need to remember is that this is all described and controlled by a loan document, okay? And so if you go back in time in your mind to the day you signed documents at the dealership, one of them that you signed is a purchase agreement most likely. You probably saw a bunch of other documents, including an as-is disclaimer, a Monroney sticker. But one of the documents you're signing is a loan document. Okay? So the interesting thing here is quite often the loan document says you are borrowing the money from the dealership, but the loan is then being assigned to a third party. And we've talked about that as well. But basically speaking, let's just pretend that you signed a document saying, I will pay the bank this money. And it's because the dealership actually is, in a roundabout way, acting as an agent for the bank. The same way they act as an agent for the state when they let you get license plates at the dealership, right? License plates come from the state, but some dealerships can actually get you the stuff to get you on the road. So they're working on behalf of themselves, on behalf of the state, and also on behalf of the bank. So you're signing this lending loan document, and this loan document controls the transaction. So on the front of it, it'll have the Truth in Lending Act stuff across the top of the boxes. Here's how much you're borrowing. Here's what your down payment is. Here's what your payments are. Here's what your interest rate is. Here's how much the interest will be if you make all payments. And then here's what the total cost of the loan is on the far right-hand side. So everyone does that. They read that stuff. They make sure the down payment is correct. Hopefully they spotted the VIN is correct and so on. But what happens is many people then just go to the bottom of the page and sign it. And if you look at the document, most of these documents say on them, by the way, you are promising to pay us money, and in the interim, we've got a lien on your car, which is recorded probably on the title, for instance. And but it'll say then what constitutes a default, and also what happens if you are in default. So one of the first things to understand is most defaults happen because people miss payments. Okay, you get behind on your payments. Now, if you read your loan contract, it probably says right on there, it says, if you are 1 millisecond late in paying us back, we have the right to declare you in default and then use all our remedies in default. But a lot of people think there's a grace period, or they think that, hey, they let me slide once, they'll probably let me slide again. And like I said, most contracts say specifically that's not the case. If we let you slide, it's just because we let you slide, but it does not create a new contract. The contract says the second you're in default, we can take our remedies, which might include repossession of the collateral. But also be aware of the fact that there are other ways you can default on the loan. So if you go back and read your contract, you might discover, for instance, that you're required to keep insurance on the car. And it'll say, if you don't put insurance on the car and prove it to us, oftentimes it'll say, we have the right to buy insurance for you, and then charge you for that. They'll buy you expensive insurance, and when they charge you for that, it'll shock you. But they also could theoretically say, you don't have insurance in the car, we're going to retake the collateral to protect it, because you're not protecting it. And you agreed to that. So this always gets back to one of the tenets of this show, is that I'm always telling you, when you sign a document, you're presumed to have read it. So you need to read it. And most people, like I said, they've been through some of these transactions. They skim this stuff over. They think they've read it, or they're in a hurry. Or, of course, some of this is caused by the dealerships who ask you to come in and sign documents 5 minutes before closing and then throw 35 bank documents at you. And you couldn't humanly read them in a day, let alone 5 minutes. So I understand that. My point is, here we are today. We're talking about your car. Your car got repossessed. Go find your loan document first. That's probably where you should start. And once you find it, read it and double check what I'm telling you. But the second thing you need to do, okay, is contact the lender. Whoever the lien holder is in the vehicle, contact them and say, I believe my vehicle was repossessed yesterday. Can you tell me if in fact it was? Maybe it was stolen. And if they say, yes, it was repossessed, they should be able to connect you with somebody in their department or otherwise that can explain to you how you can cure the default if you want to. Okay, so usually, and this is also spelled out in your contract, it'll actually say, if you're in default, here are your options if the collateral gets repossessed. And in many states, it's the law that they have to let you try to cure the default. Now, it's not going to be easy. It might be expensive and painful. But there's usually a method by which you can cure the default and get your car back if you want it. And I'll explain to you why you might want it. So let's suppose you were one payment late. Something weird happened. You put the payment in the mail and you forgot to put a stamp on it, and somehow it bounced around out there because your return address wasn't written well. I mean, I'm making stuff up here, but let's just say something crazy happened. And for some odd reason, someone at the bank pulled the trigger and repoed your car. They were allowed to do that. They didn't get the payment on time. So you call them up and say, guys, I tried to make the payment, but I'm looking, I can show you, Well, they're going to say, okay, you can cure the default. And there's usually a couple different ways they're going to say you can do it. It depends on the bank. It depends on how far you are into your loan. But they're always going to say, if you want to cure the default, you can do so by paying off the loan in its entirety, paying whatever penalties might be invoked by the fact that you missed that payment, and also paying the towing charges and the storage costs. And I've talked before about how those somehow are among the largest charges ever known to man. Then they tow your car and park it someplace and say, yeah, we need $150 a day for storage, and we need $50 a mile for the 3 miles we dragged it from your house, plus a hookup fee, and plus a overnight sensation fee, and a late night repo fee, and blah blah blah. And they say, you got to pay all these fees and make this payment, to pay off the loan. But like I said, they are going to be required to allow you to cure the default. Now, some places will actually say, we'll let you cure the default if you simply get caught up on all your payments and pay all of the repo fees and so on. But that's less common because their thought process is, look, we've got thousands of people we've lent money to. And we know statistically that someone who misses a payment is probably going to miss another payment somewhere down the road. It's not usually a one-time thing. So many times they're not going to be interested in a cure other than make full payment on the entire loan, pay off the loan and the other stuff, and we'll give you your car back without a lien, by the way. So you'll own the car free and clear. So you can remedy the default, and it'll be spelled out in the back of your loan document as to how to do that. So let's suppose that you cannot cure. Okay, you're one payment into a 72-month contract, and you lost your job. You can't make the payments, and you can't cure. Okay, you should know how the process works because this will affect you down the road. So again, read the back of the loan contract, but the loan contract will often say, if you are in default, we can retake the collateral. Once we've retaken the collateral, we can make use of any of our rights and remedies available to us by law. And you might say, Steve, what law governs repossessions? It's Article 9 of the UCC. And for those of you who are attorneys in the audience, I know there's a couple, search Lehto and UCC Article 9, and you'll find a case of mine that was reported in the state of Michigan on secured transactions, which I joke about because it's one of the cases that has my name on it. And after it was publicized, I was getting phone calls from all around the country from attorneys who wanted my advice on Article 9 cases. And I had to admit, I didn't know that much about them. I just happened to have a case that dragged me into that dark corner of the UCC. But it's governed by Article 9 of the UCC. So if you cannot cure, okay, usually what happens, and I'm saying usually because the UCC has been modified in some states, but generally speaking, here's what happens when collateral gets repossessed, okay? You can't remedy, and you're going to let the system work its magic. The vehicle will be taken to an auction and must be sold in a commercially reasonable fashion, okay? That usually means that they're going to take the vehicle and sell it, most often at an auction that's open only to dealers, okay? But sometimes I've heard of these things being sold at just open auctions. I've heard of credit unions holding an auction in their front parking lot once a month. I mean, it's crazy. But as long as they do it in a commercially reasonable fashion, and believe it or not, they have to let you know when, where, and how they're going to dispose of your collateral. So you'll get a letter in the mail. So I've had a lot of people call me and say, Steve, how do I find this stuff out? It'll all come to you in the mail. The problem is a lot of people become scared of their mailbox when they start having financial troubles. And I understand that. But you need to be vigilant and look for correspondence from your lender after the repossession, because you will get a notice. And it's going to say your collateral, and it's going to describe the VIN and all, is going to be disposed of at an auction on this date and time. And it'll tell you if you're allowed to attend the auction. Because a lot of people say, I can't afford to redeem it myself, but I can go and watch at least to make sure that everything's on the up and up. So if you want to, go do that. But you should also be aware that they're probably going to tell you in the same letter. And by the way, if you want to, you can still cure by buying it back from us and paying off the loan, blah, 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 blah. In some instances, you could actually go and theoretically bid on your own car. And you might say, Steve, why would I want to do that? Because number one, I can't afford to get it back. How could I bid on it? Isn't that the same thing? It's not the same thing. Because the problem, and you might guess this, is that when they take the vehicle to auction, a lot of auto auctions are simply the car is parked and they say it's a make, model, year. They tell you that and they say how many miles are on it and they go, it's a repossession. What am I bid? They don't let people take it for test drives. They don't let people put it up on a hoist. Sometimes they literally roll them across a block. Sometimes they'll actually say things like this car does run or it doesn't run. But it's very, very minimal. And it depends on the auction. Some auctions are conducted differently. I'm not trying to say all auctions are like this. But what I'm saying is, despite the fact that these are considered to be commercially reasonable auctions, many of them do not fetch top dollar for the cars. Because a lot of dealers are sitting there going, I know what the blue book in that car is, but it was repossessed. If it's repossessed, the guy who owned it might not have done the maintenance on it. He might have gotten angry, he was about to get repossessed. He might have damaged the car. We don't know. So we'll bid low on it. So unfortunately, a lot of vehicles get sold at auction, and they get sold at auction for much, much less than you'd expect. I've spoken to people who've talked to me, come into my office, and showed me all their loan documents along with all of the correspondence that follows. I've seen this correspondence trail, and I've seen someone who got the letter that said, here is what you owed us, some big amount of money. And it goes, and here's how you defaulted. And then it says, we took your vehicle and sold it on this date at this auction, and here's what we got. And there's some figure that's shockingly low. It's nowhere near what was owed. They then say, we have to remove the cost of the auction because that doesn't benefit us. And then we've got to recoup the cost of the towing and the storage and anything else that they're allowed to recoup from you. So they take all of that, crunch the numbers, and they send you a bill for the leftover. So let's suppose you owed $10,000 in the car and they took the car to auction and sold it for $5,000. And the repo costs are a couple thousand. They might come back and say, yeah, the net from that auction was only $3,000. You still owe us $7,000. And they now have a $7,000 claim against you, which is unsecured because they just lost the collateral. But they can now sue you for the remainder. And again, go read your contract. It says they can do that. You agreed to that when you borrowed the money. And a lot of people, this is why I warn people, don't ever just say, I got up and I walked away from the vehicle because I couldn't make the payments. Because you can walk away from the vehicle, but they're going to come after you, okay? This is not just you walking away from an inanimate object. You're trying to walk away from a bank with a horde of lawyers, okay? They can outrun you, okay? It's going to happen. So they will take the vehicle and sell it at auction. It'll probably sell for much less than you expect, which is one of the reasons I always tell people, if you're thinking that you might default on your loan, you can't make the payments, look into selling the vehicle yourself, because if there's a chance that you can recoup in the sale what the vehicle's worth, or excuse me, what you owe on the vehicle, you might be able to pay the loan off. But if they take the vehicle and sell it at auction, they're going to sell it for less than you could have sold it for. Guaranteed. That's guaranteed, okay? The car will not sell at an auction like that for what it's actually worth if you sell it yourself. So you always try to do that if you can. Now, a couple of things you need to know about. Hypothetically, if your car sells and gets them so much money that it pays off the loan, pays off all the costs of the repo, pays off all that stuff, and they have money left over, that would be a surplus. Believe it or not, they got to cut you a check and go, here's your money. Because we paid ourselves, we're whole now, here's your money. So if there's any leftover money, they'd give it to you. I will tell you now that's illusory. I've never met anybody whose car was repoed who got a check for the surplus. It just doesn't happen. I see people getting bills for the deficiencies all the time, but I've never seen someone get a check for a surplus. Theoretically, it's possible. Suppose you bought a Corvette, okay? Brand new Corvette, you made all your payments early, and then for some odd reason you just had a meltdown and you didn't make the last payment. They repoed the vehicle, and then they took it to an auction and sold it. Well, they're probably going to sell it for more than the small amount of money you owe on them. So there'd be a surplus. But it wouldn't be as big of a surplus if you sold it yourself. Now, the other thing to remember is, again, you get the surplus, but they'll hit you for the deficiency, is that if there's anything in your car at the moment it's repossessed, they can't keep the stuff if it's personal belongings. So you've got a CD collection, or an 8-track collection, although I'm not sure what kind of value that would have. But you've got stuff in your car. I've heard from people who told me they had tennis rackets in their car, or they had, a toolbox in their car, something like that. Or if it was a work truck, a bunch of stuff. Who knows? If there's personal property in your car, they're supposed to let you get that stuff back. So when you call the bank and say, my vehicle's been repossessed, they say, yeah, and they explain to you what happened. You can then say, I need to get my belongings back. And they'll hook you up with a storage yard. You'll go there, show them ID, and they'll give you whatever is still in your car. May not be as much as in the car when they picked it up. Things happen where stuff disappears from impound yards strangely. They never put stuff in your car, but sometimes stuff disappears. But they're supposed to give you the contents back. Now, people ask me, they say, Steve, what if I put wheels on my car and I put a blower on it and I put nitrous oxide on it? All this crazy stuff. You don't get that back because those are all things that were put on the car and they're part of the car now, strangely enough. Read your contract. But in theory, if you put stuff on the car that increased its value, that would benefit you when they sold it at auction. Unfortunately, putting stuff like that in a car doesn't increase its value at auction, for the most part. But theoretically, they get to keep the stuff that's attached to the car, but the loose stuff is supposed to give you back. Now, I've had people say, Steve, the bank wouldn't work with me. Shouldn't they work with me? They don't have to make deals with you beyond the contract. So if the contract doesn't say they have to work with you, they don't have to work with you. So remember, if the car gets repossessed and you're powerless to do anything about it, at least follow the process. Watch your mailbox, read the stuff that comes over to you. There's stuff you can do, but if you can't do those things, at least follow along. And here's the thing. If they screw the process up, you might be able to get them for doing that wrong. That's possible. I've actually gone after a couple lenders who did the repossessions wrong or didn't dispose of the collateral properly. That's always possible. So this is stuff you need to know. What to do if your car is repossessed. Questions or comments, shoot them my way, lehtoslaw.com. I'm sorry, lehtoslaw.com is my website. So I was correct there. And I'm on Twitter at Steve Lehto, at SteveLehto. And this show is on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Podbean, Google Play, and YouTube. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.